everybody, I'm Bill Bam Bam Whittle, and I'm here with my buddy Tank Klavan, who you remember as the MVP of that awesome Chicago Bears team back in '56. We're here to talk some football today, and if you want to be on the sidelines, you can sit on the sidelines, but if you want to get in the huddle, you got to get right in there and become a Facebook friend or a PJTV subscriber. Andrew, you ready to talk some football?
All right, let's go.
All right, today's question comes from PJTV Member Wiksel, who writes, to what extent should comedians or comedic context be allowed to have liberties with sensitive topics that water cooler conversations would not normally have?
All right, well, now that I've been blown completely out of my,
Come on,
all my thoughts.
Let's talk some football, sport.
All right,
Go.
Let's talk some football. All right, this is a good question, though. I like this question.
I do, too.
You know, I personally am officially finished with the gotcha culture, the culture that says, oh, you said this.
With you, buddy. I'm right with you.
And you said this, you must be racist. You said this, you're hateful. You said this,
Absolutely.
you used a slur. Whatever it is, I'm finished. Because first and last of all, that culture was almost entirely created by the left to shut people up when they have arguments that destroy everything they believe in. And so it's just, and we know that because when the left makes such statements, when they compare Condoleezza Rice to the slave in Gone with the Wind, or say horrible sexist things about Sarah Palin, suddenly it's okay. Suddenly it's
freedom of speech, baby.
It's freedom of speech. And so we know that this gotcha culture is simply a dodge to protect bad ideas. That said, there is such a thing as humor that telegraphs an intentional hateful attitude, an intent to destroy, an intent to to cast aspersion. I'll give you two great examples, two opposing examples. Very recently, I'm sure you heard on Wonkette, on the blog.
Oh,
Wonkette.
my God.
Yeah, there was this assault on Sarah Palin's handicapped child. Louis C.K., a not very funny comedian to begin with, said also at the same time, oh, this retard of a child, and I hate Sarah Palin. What gripped me about those comments is that they revealed personality and intent. They revealed a hatefulness that was so bad, so extensive, that it even went to this handicapped child.
Yeah.
Now let me compare that to Barack Obama, who made an offhanded joke about the Special Olympics, which did not at all reveal that. I don't think that President Obama in any way has any animus toward handicapped children. And in fact, it's entirely possible to be inspired and moved and uplifted by the Special Olympics and still understand there's a joke there to be made, there's funny stuff there to be made. So there's no obviously black line that you cross over, but I think we can tell the difference between maybe a distasteful remark that made by accident, or maybe a remark that finds humor in a tragic or difficult situation, and remarks that are genuinely, intentionally filled with hate. And I think we have to draw that line somewhere.
Well, let me give you a philosophical wedge, because I have a feeling this might have been the kind of thing that caused this question. It's an excellent question. We can both agree that there should be no limitations on free speech, be able to say whatever you want to, and damn the consequences, right? But what happens if you're a company like Affleck, and Gilbert Gottfried tweets a couple of off-color jokes about, well, they weren't even off-color, just a couple of fairly, jokes about the tsunami, right? They were, you could see how it's dark humor, right? A lot of times we have to deal with things through dark humor, and especially if you're a comedian, you've got a fractured personality to begin with, right? So these are dark jokes to relieve some of the horror and some of the tension. Now, Gilbert Gottfried certainly has that right, and people could criticize him or not, but Affleck is a company. He is their official company spokesman. They have an obligation to maintain a certain image in terms of their shareholders and their perceived values. They fired him over that. Do you think that was appropriate or not?
Well, what I would like to see is more measured responses. What I would like to see is the guy come out and say, oh, you know what, it was a stupid thing to say. I was relieving a little tension in the company to say, done. It's over. He's apologized. Maybe he can give some money to, a good cause or something like that. I really do hate this culture of flogging people to death. I'll give you a perfect example of something that happened to me. I did a Klavan on the Culture today about abortion, a difficult topic to be funny about. And in one of the drafts, I included a very funny joke about rape. And the joke was meant to attack the kind of emotionalism that overrides moral reason. That's what the target of the joke was, using emotional things. Well, what about a rape victim, someone who's raped by her uncle? To use that as a moral argument, which it's not. It's just an emotional argument. I had to write that thing, I rewrote it maybe 20 times. About the 10th time, I'm looking at it and I thought, that's not a funny joke. It's not funny to make jokes about rape. I'm cutting that joke out. But so focused was I on my task of trying to be witty about a difficult subject and pointed, that it took me a minute to remember. It took me a while to remember my greater obligation to my humanity. Now, that was with 10, 20 rewrites that I caught on to that mistake that I had made. I might have just blurted something out. And I think we have to give people leeway for that. You know, you're
Yes.
trying to be funny, you miss the mark, it happens.
But the fact that you went to such labors to get that joke right and then eventually pulled it out says you have a fundamental conscience, you have an understanding that it can be offensive to people. You're a fundamentally good guy. Unlike some of these guys that are making, but these guys who are making these comments about Sarah Palin, and it doesn't matter whether it was Sarah or the daughter, Todd was the father, they're accusing him of raping his own daughter, for God's sakes. These are horrible people. They have the right to be horrible people. Somebody said something I love a lot. Liberals try to get conservatives to shut up, and conservatives want liberals to keep talking. I think that's really the crux of it. You don't. The thing I'll close on is when Petraeus tried to explain to the Afghan leaders why this guy burning a Koran, Terry Jones in Florida, why he wanted that stopped. He had to explain to these Afghan leaders that we don't come out in favor of this. And this is an important point for the third world. They don't understand that just because something is allowed doesn't mean it's endorsed.
I know.
Right?
Too many people,
Yeah.
even in our world, too many people don't understand that. That's true.
That's all we have time for today. You can let us know what questions you'd like answered next time. You can leave your questions in the comments section below. For Andrew Klavan and PJTV, I'm Bill Whittle. Thanks for Talking Football!